Well, welcome back to our video series on the changing standards. This is episode 2. We're kicking it off. We talked last week about how we've created this so that we can talk about how the standards are changing as a whole. This week we want to dive into a little bit of detail about it. And Russ, can you tell us a little bit about why the standards are changing?
Sure. And as we alluded to last week, the standards really are changing primarily for credibility. We all know companies that are ISO certified, and you wonder how in the world they got that way. And so one of the things they're trying to achieve is that companies are delivering good product or service on time at the price they said so that there's a credibility to actually being certified, which of course affects, since ISO is embedded in all the higher standards, affects all the standards.
How is it changing? That feels a little bit familiar, but so how is it changing this time?
In the past, the way ISO has been really looked at, it was all about conformity. So you define what it is you do in the system, really, but in the individual processes, and then it was all about did you do it?
Yeah.
So as long as you said what you did and did what you said, you could be certified. Well, the old joke, of course, is that you could design and manufacture cement life preservers. As long as you said what you did and did what you said.
Yeah, follow your processes.
Yeah. Of course, you're going to have a hard time finding customers because they're all drowning. So really what the standard was looking for was ensuring that you got credibility there.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting, before we got going off the set, you were talking to me a little bit about objective planning, and I felt like that was such a good example of a very specific change, of kind of things that we're seeing in this new standard.
Yeah, the standard is being modified. In the standard, again, all along we've been saying the standard is descriptive and not prescriptive, and so it doesn't tell you how to do things, but it's been listing things that you need to do, and the standard has always had. You really couldn't design and manufacture cement life preservers, but if you were interpreting the standard properly, but they've expanded the standard to drive performance. And an example is when you look at one of the clauses on planning of objectives, you always had to have system objectives, kind of objectives we're going to deliver on time and those kind of things.
Yeah.
But now specifically what it's asking for is, number one in the objectives is you have to say what will be done. So there's always been planning there, but you never really had to say specific a plan. Now you got to say what will be done, what resources are needed in order to accomplish that objective, who's responsible for seeing that it gets done, how will you know when it's completed, and how you're going to evaluate whether you achieve your objectives. So now you're looking at a pretty robust planning method, not just alluding to some kind of plan.
Yeah, that is a pretty significant change from what we've seen in the previous revisions.
Right. So again, what we're looking at is the standard is descriptive, not prescriptive. So it's telling you these are the things that have to be in your planning, but it doesn't say how to do it.
Yeah.
So what you need to do is you need to make sure that these things meet your business needs. So, and that's what we're trying to talk about in this series.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of companies, a lot of organizations are sort of taking this approach of taking the standard, the changes, and doing a bit-by-bit breakdown of like the objective planning is a good example. Look at this, and how's that work? Is that a smart approach to how you address such a sweeping standards change?
Well, it is certainly the approach that many organizations are taking. But again, you ask yourself, how many little snapshots of an elephant do I have to have before I know what the elephant actually looks like?
Yeah.
So what I would suggest, and what we suggest as Eagle Force, is take a look at the whole elephant and get an idea of what it is, and then we'll break down the individual pieces so that we understand what it is we're trying to accomplish here.
So join us next week as we look at all kind of pictures of elephants. But that is what we're going to do. In the coming weeks here, we are going to take a broader look. Isn't that right?
Yeah. So next week you're going to get a 10,000-foot look at the elephant. But then we will, of course, after we get a picture of what the elephant looks like, we will be breaking this thing down and discussing specific things like what we just mentioned about how you might implement that effectively.
That's right. And again, as I mentioned at the top, We are all about your feedback. We want to hear what questions you have, what concerns, what are those little snapshots of the elephant that you want us to examine, look at, break down. We want to help you with this. So you can contact us on our website. You can do it through email.
Carrier pigeons?
Carrier pigeons are well, maybe not carrier pigeons, but yeah, join us. And so we'll see you again in about a week, and we will take a look at that 10,000 foot view.